Welcome to Show Me Sports Legacies. Tonight we have the head coach of the 15th ranked North Central Missouri Lady Pirates basketball team, Jenni Croy. We are excited to get her in the busiest part of the season as her team prepares for district play. Now, Chris, this is basketball season. How do I know this? Because it's currently unbearably cold outside. And the only warm place in Grundy County is the Ketchum Center when there's a doubleheader. And it is rocking, and that place gets warmed up. We're really lucky to have the quality of programs that we have up at NCMC. And tonight we're going to hear about Coach Croy. We're going to hear about Jenni Miller Croy. Jenni Miller, who in her own right had some amazing accomplishments as a basketball player that led to her coaching career. So tonight, I'm going to throw a word game at you.
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. With the upcoming NCAA tournament and NJCAA national tournament, you're going to hear this phrase a lot, maybe even too much. On the bubble. Now, Chris, can you give our listeners a succinct definition of what on the bubble means?
The bubble watch in basketball. First of all, basketball season, especially this time of year, is so much fun if you're a basketball fan and a sports fan because every level's going on, NBA, college, high school. We're getting to the point where the games really matter, postseason play, district play, regional play, tournaments, big shots, buzzer beaters, all the great things. But to be on the bubble in basketball means you're on the cusp of making it big in the postseason. So I kind of broke it down for you, Jeff, into three types of teams as we get into late in a basketball season. There's the teams that are not very good. They're done. They are really hoping their season ends pretty soon so they can get on with their life and do something else. Then there's the teams that have had a really good season and they're ready to go. They're amped up. They've got big dreams. They are going to be in the playoffs. They know they're going to be a high seed, and they've got everything in front of them. And then there's the teams in the middle, and those are the teams on the bubble. Are they good enough to be a tournament team? Are they going to pull a big upset? Are they going to make their own tournament? And so if you're on the bubble in basketball, it means you're right there on the cusp of doing something great, but you just need to prove it. And in basketball, you can prove it on the court because everybody gets a shot. And that's one of the things I've loved always about MSHSAA and the NCAA is everybody gets a shot. When districts start and when the tournament starts, everybody gets a shot. And, you know, if you can win every game and keep on going and survive and advance, there's another word for you, or two words or three. You can keep playing in basketball. So lots to look forward to. And to all those teams that are going to be on the bubble, good luck.
So I've got a survive and advance story and a bubble story all in one. So Monday, I drove all the way back from Dallas, Texas, because I got sick of good weather, I guess. I don't know. I came back, and I was trying to time it so that I didn't hit the worst of the storm, or I got in before, but I didn't quite make it. I got to Kearney, Missouri, and the snowflakes started flying, and the trucks were going faster, and I couldn't see anything because it was that light snow that was swirling around. Got off the road at Wallace State Park. I thought, you know, I think I'm better off if I get on a 2-lane highway and me and the guy coming at me figure out where the middle line is between us. You know, we're just going to do it on the fly. And that worked out good. So I was surviving and advancing. I got all the way past Cameron, Winston. I got to Altamont. I got to Gallatin. And now I'm feeling good. I'm almost home. And my car acts like maybe I left my wallet at the Casey's in Gallatin. It decides it wants to do a flip and turn around in the middle of the road, and it almost went all the way around, but I got it under control, and we went on, and I said, I've survived and I advanced. I was on the bubble of getting cut, you know, not making it, but in life, there are on the bubble situations. I made it all the way back here just so that we could do this podcast. That's my dedication level.
Well, we're glad you made it, and you've successfully compared winter driving to basketball, and so just that in itself is going to make for a great podcast. I'm ready.
So tonight we welcome North Central Missouri College head women's basketball coach Jenni Miller Croy. Jenni had amazing success as a player at Kearney High School, then in college at Pittsburg State University, where she rewrote the record books for scoring, led her team into the Division II national tournament on 2 occasions in her 4 years. She was a 4-time All-MIAA player, honorable mention All-American in her senior season. Came up here to coach eventually. In 2006, 2007, she was part of one of the very best teams ever to play on that floor at the Ketchum Center that did very well in the national tournament. And she became the head coach. Wasn't long. few years later, she broke through in 2014, took her first team to the national tournament as head coach, and has taken 3 teams in the last 3 years to the national tournament. It's been an amazing stretch. And at the time of this podcast, Coach Croy's team is 17-7, last I checked, ranked 15th in the nation. With those 17 wins, Coach Croy's next win will be her, if I'm calculating right, and once again, we're doing math in the podcast. It's kind of dangerous territory for us. Her 325th in 18 years as head coach at North Central Missouri College. Jenni, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
We are happy to have you. We're pleased to have you. And we got some ground to cover, so this podcast can achieve the highest seed possible for a podcast based on a quadrant 1 interview. That's what I'm
Now you're really getting into it. Okay.
I am a math teacher as well, so I appreciate this.
I always like to start at the beginning. Can you talk about your early life growing up in a small town? And what kind of town was Kearney in the 1980s? Just describe that for me. I grew up in Lawson, Missouri, not far from there, so I have a sense for this. But talk about, a lot of us think of Kearney as the quick trip and,
Right.
a few stops on the highway on the way out.
And none of that was there. I believe we built Hardee's, which is now Burger King, when I was in high school. So in the early 90s that got built. But we were a town with 2 4-way stops. We had no stoplights at the time. And I'm the youngest of 4 kids, grew up in a very competitive family. All 4 of us were involved in sports. My dad was a 1961 Kearney High School graduate whose team won state his senior year. My mom was a 1963 Kearney High School graduate who played back in the day 6-on-6 basketball. And so I just think that growing up the youngest of 4 siblings, watching my older siblings have success in basketball, my sister's team in 86 got second in state. Basketball wasn't an option for me. It was just what I wanted to do, what I was raised to do, I guess. And so I just knew from a young age that it was the sport that I loved to play. And my parents got me involved in a travel team in 5th grade. The Kansas Bells is what we were called back then. And we would drive over to Kansas, practice a couple days a week, and then play a couple tournaments on the weekends. And as I grew through high school, then we were on a team called the Show Me Ladies, and we had Lisa Petty Glenn, who's the head coach at Lawson High School, was our point guard on that team. And so we kind of gathered kids from area schools and traveled and played together as well. Corey Elms, that coaches at Midbuck, was on that team. And so, there's a lot of girl coaches in the area that I got to grow up with and play ball with. But, it was just something, basketball was just a part of me from day one. So something I love to do.
That's great. Well, Lisa Petty, all-time leading scorer at Lawson High School, girls basketball. So, you guys have the pedigree. Obviously the ability to compete yourself and then translate that to your players.
And I'm sitting here flabbergasted because I've known you a long time. I've known Corey and Lisa, coached against them for a long time, and never knew till just now that you 3 played on the same team when you were growing up.
So Corey's, Chad Ellifritz coached us in 7th grade. So I remember he came and watched me play in St. Joe. And, back then that was like being recruited to play on a travel ball team, and it was a big deal. And so he came and watched myself and my best friend at the time her name is Brandy Musgrove, out of Kearney, and watched us play. We were 7th and 8th graders, and so he picked us up, and we were called the Acres of Diamonds at the time. And so we practiced all over North Missouri. He had us play, I think we played 80 games one summer. We were just a bunch of 8th graders who would go play any high school team in the area that would play us. So I remember Jefferson, I believe, had won state, and he took us up to Conception, and we got to, it was almost like Hoosiers made over. We got to go play in Conception's gym at Conception Junction and play those girls that had just won state. And we were just a bunch of 8th graders thrown together that competed. And so we were in gyms like Balco, Missouri, went to North Andrew. We were all over North Missouri. And so between my 8th grade and freshman year of high school, he had us on the court constantly. So,
well, I remember him and thinking when I was a young coach coming up in Northern Missouri that he had clones, because it seemed like every gym you walked in, any given night of a season, you look up and he'd be in the stands like, there he is again. Who's that guy taking notes up there? Is he scouting me? What's going on? And then come to find out he was scouting for Corey a lot of times. Or he coached, I think was still coaching a little bit, high school, coached at DeKalb, right?
She coached at DeKalb, before she went to
Right,
mid-buck.
right.
And I think he helped her out,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. You always think it's a lot of people, but coaching sometimes is a small fraternity.
So in the 70s when I played, Kearney was the biggest gym by far in the area. And I remember it used to be cool, all the big tournaments, all the things would happen there. And they had a spotlight thing and they would turn out the lights, and not for our team, but, the home team. And I thought, man, this is the big time, going to Kearney and playing a game. It was quite a facility, and it really packed it in.
It was. We used to, they still do, put on the Bulldog Classic. And I remember being just a young elementary kid and going to the Bulldog Classic every single night of the week. And it was at the old high school, which is it's their junior high now, I believe. The old gym was packed. They would get, Bishop Hogan was there every year. It was extremely competitive, and that gym would be packed full of people and a great atmosphere.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, so we're going to have a guest here tonight who knows a little bit about this young lady's high school career. And I think we're going to dial up Coach Webster, see what he has to say.
Sounds good.
First of all, you want to talk about him before he gets on the line?
So he came to Kearney, I believe, in '79 after he won state at Hamilton, Penney High School. And so my cousin actually played for him his first year there. She was a point guard, ended up going to William Jewell College. And then my sister came through and played for him. And so he, for a high school coach, he had a vested interest in the younger kids who were going to impact his program eventually. And so he worked with us. He would put on a camp every summer. And so it was, being a part of Kearney Bulldog basketball was instilled in you at a young age because of the time that he spent to develop his program all the way through. And I was honored to be able to play for him all 4 years. We had challenging times and we had fun times and very rewarding. And so very good teacher of the game, just a very good all-around coach.
We're going to pause briefly and we'll come back with Coach on the line. Let me do just a little bit of intro stuff, and then I've got a few questions I'll tee up for you, and we'll go from there.
Okay, that'd be great.
We welcome to the podcast Missouri Hall of Fame coach Herb Webster. His plaque includes these points as of his 2011 induction. Coaching career started at Tri-County High School. He then moved to Penney High School, where he started the first girls basketball team. During his 5 years, his team won district 4 times and included an undefeated state championship in 1977. He then moved on to Kearney High School in 1979, where he's been the head coach, girls coach for the last 32 years, earning 539 victories. Coach Webster has accumulated 721 total wins while coaching girls basketball, making him the girls basketball coach with the most wins in Missouri history as of his induction in the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. So, Coach Webster, welcome to Show Me Sports Legacies, and we are very happy to have you.
Well, thank you very much. I need to pay you something for that introduction, I think.
Let me give you the routing number. I've got it right here.
We were really happy to have you, and when I found out I might be talking to you, my uncle, Ed Weisenbach, was a coach that you went against when you were at Tri-County. And then again at Hamilton, he coached at Lawson and Gallatin at the time. And anyway, he told me a couple of Herb Webster stories about
Now, this could be interesting. Be careful what you say, because Ed's a nice man, but he might stretch things a little bit.
You think so? I grew up with him, so I'm quite aware of that. So, Coach, tell us about your time starting at Tri-County and then Penney High School in the 70s. We talk a lot about the fervor and the love of basketball in this part of the world. And in your early coaching career, you coached in this part of the world, and you saw that. Tell us a story or two about your time at Tri-County and then leading on into Hamilton.
Well, when I went to Tri-County, the superintendent's name was George Vaughn. And he told me I had to get certified in driver education, which I did. And he called me while I was getting my classes all assigned. And he says, Herb, have you got all those classes? And I says, yes, sir. And I'm new. I'm nervous. I did not know what's going on here. He's calling me. And he says, well, I want you to sign up for 2 more classes. And I says, 2 more classes? I'll meet the certification in driver education. And he said, no, I want you to take these 2 administrative classes. I want you to start your master's. I says, what's going on? He says, well, I've just named you the high school principal along with being the coach. So I got to start my career as a high school principal, head boys girls basketball coach, head track coach, and it was the greatest decision I ever made was to go into coaching. My high school coach told me what I needed to do when I was in high school, and I followed every bit of his instructions, and I'm so glad that he got me going that way. Jamesport was a tremendous place for me to start my coaching career. A small community, the people there just welcomed us so much, and we enjoyed it so much. Coaching girls basketball was something different for me. I had never heard of. I watched some 3-on-3 basketball. They called it 6-on-6 also. But as far as thinking about coaching it, I had no idea. So the boys' side was okay, but the girls' side was very interesting. And we were not that good. The girls tried real hard. I tried hard to be a good coach. And we had nights where the crowd got really excited if we could score in double figures as a team.
We've seen some of those games in our winter classics up here.
So it wasn't the best outing in the world. I might have won a lot more games had I known more about coaching 3-on-3 and 6-on-6. The boys team had not won many ball games. We went around 500 my first year there and had a great time. And I had a great bunch of boys coming on there as freshmen when I got there. And that's when they were juniors and seniors was when we had the privilege of playing Ed in the Gallatin boys in district championship games. We were called regional championships in those days. So that was a lot of fun. And I still have young men and young women from Jamesport that stay in contact with me, and they'll never know how much rewarding that is to me to hear from them. I have one young man named Terry Waterbury. I think he was a freshman when I left there, and he calls and checks on me quite often just to see how I'm doing, and that means an awful lot. The girls' team, like I said, we weren't very good. Me as a coach, them as a player, we had a group of girls coming on that were really going to be good. So my last year there, we really had a good program, and that group of girls, after I left, probably because I left, went on to have a lot of success. And I remember next to my last year, I brought 3 freshman girls up from the junior high team. And we had just gotten beat by Jameson on a Friday night before district was to take on. And Jameson thumped us. I mean, they thumped us. But my freshman girls played well. And we had a chance to get some more practices in. And the first team we had to play in regional tournament was Jameson, the number 1 seeded team. Naturally, we were the 8th seeded team. And my highlight in my coaching of girls there was that we upset Jameson in that regional play that very first night. And that was just so exciting to me. Then a guy named Larry Parman, who coached at North Harrison of Eagleville, called me and told me that he had applied for the job at Hamilton, Penney High School, for the boys' job. And he says, Coach, I've turned it down and I've recommended you to go there. Gerald Thompson, who was the superintendent at Princeton for several years, had become the superintendent there at Penney Hamilton. And so he called me and told me he wanted me to come down and interview for the job. Now, I'm going down to interview for the boys' job. And I get there, and in those days, you interviewed in front of the Board of Education. Well, I'm sitting there nervous, and I've got 7 years experience in coaching girls and boys. And I'm sitting there interviewing. This one board member spoke up. And I thought I was doing a pretty good job interviewing. And this guy spoke up, and he says, well, gentlemen, he says, this is my thought. He says, we're going to start girls basketball next year. And he says, we've been interviewing people who have never coached. And we got a guy here that's coached 7 years girls basketball. I think if he wants a boys' job, he has to take the girls' job. I about passed out. I wanted the boys' job real bad. And I said, do you guys really understand what it would be like to start a program? No, but evidently you will know. So they offered the job. I took the job. So I go to my first basketball camp. I come home, and my wife says, "Well, how bad was it?" She's talking about the girls. I said, "Have you ever heard the phrase, you can fall into an outhouse and come out smelling like a rose?" Oh, she says, "Yes, I've heard that many times." Well, I says, "You're looking at a guy that just fell in the outhouse, and I think I've come out smelling like a rose."
You had some players.
Oh, I just could not believe the players that was there. And the very first 2 games they ever played at the Hamilton Gym, they lost. I was there 5 years, and they never lost again.
Wow.
And in the second year, we won the district. The third year, we won the district and were undefeated state champs. The fourth year, we got third in state. And the last year I was there, we got fourth in state. So you talk about a guy that got lucky in coaching career. I really got lucky. And I've thanked that board member over and over and over for doing that. And I after my fourth year there, my oldest son was going to be in the basketball program because we started a youth program there. And I really didn't want to coach my own kids. So I bowed out of boys basketball because of that reason. And I went straight to girls. And then I came to Kearney, and it was a great move for us also. And in 1979, we came down here. And then in 85-86 season, that group of girls went 29-2, and we were second in state that year. And then I had the privilege of coaching that girl named Jenni Croy, and she made me even a better coach. And I wasn't very smart at times with Jenni. I remember one year a girl named Brandy Musgrove was an outstanding point guard for us, and we were in the Fort Osage tournament, and out in the open court, she blew her knee. And I thought our season might have gone down the tubes right then because we were very talented. I believe Jenni was a sophomore that year. So with my great knowledge of coaching, I decided I'm going to take the leading scorer, Jenni, and I'm going to make her my point guard.
I even think you wrote me an invitation or something on a note card inviting me or asking me to be the point guard. I think I probably still have that somewhere in the tub in the basement.
I probably did. And anyway, so we go to St. Joe Benton, and we were a much better ball club than St. Joe Benton with Jenni as a point guard. I was all excited about my great coaching decision. I think that was the lowest point production Jenni had in her whole career, and we got thumped. I came back home and I says, "That's it. Jenni is no longer going to be the point guard. I'm going to put her back to shooting the basketball." And shooting the ball, she did, and she did extremely well. And we I believe it was her senior year, we got to the quarterfinals, and the team that beat us, Raymore Peculiar, went on to win the state championship. And we played that game down at Municipal Auditorium, and that was a lot of fun playing there, but it wasn't a lot of fun losing. But we lost to the state championship team.
That's the hardest game to lose, isn't it? That one step away from the Final Four.
Yes.
It was right there. I mean, I fouled out that game. I remember that. So good. And the things you look at now, you know, the older you get, if you could go back and redo, that's one of those games I'd like to go back and redo.
Don't you have that reoccurring dream? Don't all athletes have that reoccurring dream that, like, you're back in that one game and now you've got a chance to do it a little bit different?
Well, we had quite. I remember one time I got upset at Jenni because I thought she was standing and watching the game too much.
Oh yeah, I know this whole story all too well.
I told her, I said, you're just nothing but a spectator. You ought to go get money and pay me for being the admission of being a spectator.
Yeah, so this was after a game in the locker room, and he's just had it with me. I must have been really bad that night. And so he was just, "Miller, you did nothing but watch this whole game." So I went out to my dad and I said, "Hey, do you have a dollar?" Back when it was $1 admission for kids to get
Don't tell me you went and paid him the admission.
I absolutely went and paid admission.
No.
my mouth dropped open and I didn't know what to say.
I left him speechless, which is hard to do, but I did that.
But I really enjoyed my career coaching.
You and my uncle must have gone to the same school, because one time he told me in the third quarter of a game that I was doing a great imitation of a tree.
Oh.
And then he sat me down for a couple minutes just to let that slow burn set in, and he sent me back in the game. I got like the next 5 rebounds, and I thought, doggone, now he's going to do that again because it worked.
Oh, yeah. We had many instances. We had one time, I think my sophomore year, no, maybe our freshman year, he would bring in, we met on a Saturday and we were going to scrimmage the JV girls or something. And so we're all at the gym, we're scrimmaging, and the JV team's beating us. And he literally lost his mind and sent us to the locker room, told us not to come out until we were ready to play. You need to be better than what you're playing. You know, all the good coaching advice that you say when you're mad. And we go in the locker room, and one of our upperclassmen was like, okay, we got this. We're ready. We're going to go out there ready. So we were all pumped up, got refocused, headed out to the court, rounded the corner, and we're like, we're ready, coach. And he was like, no, you're not ready. Get back in. We didn't realize we weren't ready till he was ready for us to be ready. That's how that worked. So, yeah, it was just one of those experiences.
True story. And I got so upset with Jenni's team one time, and I was in practice. And I told him that I said, you guys, I might as well talk to the wall as to talk to you guys, because you don't listen to me. The wall would probably listen to me better than you guys do.
No, he went on a good 10-minute rant talking to the wall.
So I turned around and started talking to the wall.
And in walks his son, BJ, who's a year younger than me. I just remember him coming through the gym and looking at his dad, looking at us, like, what is he doing? And we're all like, we don't know. I think he's lost his mind.
But those are good stories. They're good stories.
Oh, yeah.
Those are good stories. The other thing my uncle mentioned that he kept telling you when you were at Penney, that you shouldn't coach both girls and boys because you could win a state championship with the girls and the parents of the boys would still be grumping about the coach, 2 hours later, and you'd go from, the top of the mountain to down in the valley there. And he said he always advised you to pick one because it's just too hard to please everybody and all those things.
It's a dynamic that's not everywhere, because I went to a bigger school in Arizona and came back here and got my first job. And remember coming up here and someone told me, well, they're going to coach in both games. And I said, hey, you're going to do what? They're going to coach in both games. Boys and girls, the same person? Yeah, they do it a lot around here. You're kidding. Nope. And that was like my first introduction to these small schools. A lot of them had one coach. And I said, when do they practice? Well, they practice after school with the boys and then at 6 o'clock with the girls. And then I was just shocked at how many small North Missouri schools had one coach for boys and girls.
Well, I had the pleasure of playing against your team in 77. You had a good boys team as well. But the Lawson girls were solid, and you guys had one of the best high school games I remember seeing at the time in the polo tournament final.
Oh, I remember that one. The ball rolled around and around and around the rim. That I think, let's see, what was that girl's name? I used to remember Painter.
Patty Painter.
Patty Painter shot. And it fell out, and that's the reason we were undefeated that year. It fell out instead of falling in. If it had gone in, we'd have lost that game.
She was a pretty good ball player. She went on Northwest to set their career scoring record. You had a great one yourself in Julie Chadwick.
I called her Chad. Mm-hmm. And Chad tells a story that when she was a sophomore and I got there, and she could jump up and touch the rim at that time. She was quite the athlete. And she said, well, when I was a sophomore, he let me take one dribble. That's all I was ever allowed, was one dribble. Then I got to be a junior, and I got clear up to 2 dribbles if I wanted to dribble the ball. And by the senior year, I got clear up to 3 dribbles. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I know I was pretty strict with her on dribbling the ball in the lane.
It seemed to work. You had the state championship year. You can't complain about that.
No, well, we were very fortunate. We were very fortunate. I want to say one thing. We were very fortunate that a girl named Monica Booth played at a little school called Ravenna, and they closed the school. And her mother got a job teaching the elementary school at Kingston, Missouri, and moved to Penney High School.
Speed trap.
And that, and we were very fortunate for that because Monica Booth was something special also.
Well, Coach, really good to talk to you. Any last Jenni Miller stories for us? Jenni Miller Croy stories before we say goodnight, and then we'll go on and talk about her accolades and all the things she's been doing since those days at Kearney.
Well, I remember one time, and I don't know if it was, I'm pretty sure it was a championship game at the Smithfield tournament. She went crazy shooting threes and hitting them. And one of our parents came out, and we came from behind and won the game. And one of our parents came out and said, well, it was Miller time tonight. And, the beer commercial.
Oh, yeah.
Miller time,
Yeah.
But they took it and put it to Jenni. Jenni was something special. She really was. I enjoyed coaching her so much. And I got to tell one last story. She was coaching at the college, playing down here at KCK. And my wife and I went to watch her play KCK. And I'm sitting there, and Jenni has the task of getting her butt kicked by KCK.
It was bad.
It was bad. And I told my wife, I said, I think I'm going to get up and leave. And she says, you're not going to leave her. You're going to stay right here and support her all the way through. Well, the admission was $5 to get in down there. On the way home, Jenni calls me. And these are her comments when I said hello. I owe you $5. I think we've had a great relationship over the years. Just a great relationship.
We have. And then that same year, let me finish that in a good way. Because that was 2013, the start of the 2013-14 season. And you had come and watched us get beat by 30 at KCK. And then we played in the region championship game down at State Fair Community College. And I believe you came down there and watched that. And we won the region tournament.
I was at that game.
And you said, unbelievable. I don't know how that happened. Like you guys, the leap those kids made that year was huge. And so, yeah, I remember thinking, okay, maybe we'll be okay. And so, and we went on to go to the national tournament that year. But
it was a very impressive coaching job by you, Jenni, and I was so proud of what you had done with that group of kids because, like I said, the first year it was ugly.
It was ugly.
But they were good at the end of the year.
And by the way, you really only owed him $4 because you already gave him that $1 before.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
For watching when I play.
Yeah.
That's true.
He owes you one now.
That's true. That's true.
Coach.
So in her lifetime, I don't think she ever did give me the $5. She just said she owed.
Yeah, I don't. I have not paid you yet. That's correct.
But I did get the $1.
Yes, you did. You did.
Outstanding. Coach Webster, thank you for jumping on here, and I really appreciate it. And we'll let you know where you can hear all this foolishness that we do on the podcast in a couple weeks. And thank you for your time. And I'm sure we're going to have to talk to you.
Good memories, and especially with your Uncle Ed. Those were some good memories there also.
Very good. Very good. Have a good evening, and thank you again.
Thanks for calling.
Okay. You survived that. I saw you cringe a couple times where you weren't sure what story was going to
you never know.
Load it up in the.
I mean, he was an intense coach, and my sister would tell you he was a lot more laid back when my group came through from 89 to 93 than he was for her group, from 82 to 86. And he wasn't like that with us girls. There was one time I should have brought up when he was on there that we camped out in his front yard on his birthday. His birthday's in June, and so he was adamant on the weight room, and we had weights every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We did shooting after weights because he was adamant on if you lift, you need to shoot after you lift. And so it was his birthday, and somehow, some way during our high school career, we decided we were going to TP his house every time it was his birthday. And so that particular year, we decided to TP his house and pitch a tent in the front yard with a big sign that says, "Wake us up for weights in the morning." And so he got a big kick out of that when that happened. But I think, you build a relationship with a coach who really cares about you, not only as a player, but as a person. And that's who he was and who he is. Still checks up on me, still comes to games, always texts or calls to see when the season starts, what I think it's gonna be like, and then throughout the season always follows our NCMC Pirates as well. So
gives you a good feeling when you look up in the stands and see those kind of people.
Oh, absolutely.
Supporting you.
Absolutely.
So pick out a couple games. One of the games that I saw, you had a district win in the final your senior year over a team that had beaten you twice before in Oak Grove.
Oh, yeah.
That was...
Oak Grove was one of our biggest rivals. Their coach was Brad Gaines at the time, and I believe my sophomore year, they went 32-0, undefeated state champs, and so just always a huge rivalry game against them. The team, obviously, they had to get through to advance on, and so, they were always on our radar. But yeah, and our district was always held at Excelsior Springs, I believe, almost every year, my sophomore, junior, and senior year. So we had to get through Oak Grove to advance, and yeah, it was fun to do.
And then we're not going to talk down on any Chillicothe stuff because I know you recruit some good
I do.
but you had one of your big games
I
against
did.
Chillicothe that year in the sectional.
Yeah, we played Chillicothe at Missouri Western that year for sectionals. And so Jane Dickinson was their big go-to player back then. And Valerie Humphreys and I, we talk about it a lot when we get together about that game. But it was a big game. One play I remember being on the free throw line, I was shooting a free throw. Coach Webster had put the whole team back on defense. So it was just Chillicothe girls up on the line. Made my first one, missed my second one, but somehow the ball came right back to me and got the offensive board. And so, it was just one of those games that everything fell.
33 points.
Yeah, in my lap. It absolutely in the basket, I guess. But yeah, that was, I wanted more than anything in my high school career to make it to that state, this is the state games, especially after watching my sister get there. And then, so, we were determined to get past Chillicothe and to get to that next game. And like you said, Ray-Pec, we lost by 6 to Ray-Pec that year. And so they went on to win state. And then I went on to be a teammate to one of the girls that played in that final game. So, I'm probably, for me, not making it to that state tournament, I don't know, I guess kind of kept the fire lit for me going on to play in college just because nobody likes to lose. So, and not making it, I felt like I was disappointed, but I felt like, so was obviously your fan base, your town, you feel like you let them down when you don't make it there. But
oh, you mean like the time that you beat me as an assistant? Yeah. We're not allowed to talk about that game on this one.
We
but
did.
Yes. So we've all got those games where we just come up a little bit short.
Right there, but
right there,
right there.
Bit short.
You never forget it.
Never forget those ones. Well, how cool though for you to not make it and then your daughter make it.
Yeah, I mean,
and then make it twice.
Right, and so that yeah, it's fun to live that through your kids and get that experience for sure. And I have family members, my 2 nephews. One of them was a state champion in basketball and football his senior year at Kearney, which was crazy and fun to follow. And then his younger brother was a national champion at Northwest with basketball. So I've got to have that feeling as an aunt or as a parent of what it's like. And so, yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's a big deal. And I don't know if these kids realize not everybody gets that opportunity. And so it's a big deal when you do.
Well, here we are 40 minutes in, and we haven't even got Jenni to college yet. I really enjoyed Hall of Fame coach Herb Webster joining in to talk his time at Tri-County at Jamesport, Penney High School in Hamilton, coaching girls and boys basketball. Starting his coaching career where Coach Webster became the all-time winningest coach in Missouri high school girls basketball history with 721 wins after his long run at Kearney High School. The relationship with his young phenom scorer Jenni Miller appears to have been feisty but deep and has lasted to this day as he watches her team rack up over 325 victories and success at the national level of NJCAA. We'll drop the second part of this episode, Lady Pirates head coach Jenni Croy filling up the record books next week with stories of tremendous college success, the beginnings of a coaching career, and then the fruitful years of participation in 4 national tournaments as head coach of the North Central Missouri College Lady Pirates. Thank you for listening to Show Me Sports Legacies.